All right, what's going on, Flock? 5:07 Eastern, Monday, November 18th. I know you're probably at this point ready to turn a page past week 11, but we've got to go forward. Um, I guess what I really mean is we got to go back before we go forward because there's a few things that we should comb through before doing so. Tonight's live stream is brought to you by my friends at Primary Residential Mortgage. Shannon Sharpe teed off on the Ravens on his Nightcap YouTube live stream. Ryan Clark pinpoints a hard Lamar Jackson truth. John Harbaugh shared a bunch of different things today during his Monday press conference. And of course, I'll have some takeaways from that, including a permanent, at least for the time being, personnel change that he announced earlier today during that. So all that and more is what I have coming up. As always, on your way in, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of when I'm dropping my daily live content here inside the channel. Look, not to keep harping on these things, but they were part of the story. They were the central chapters of yesterday's story, and it is indeed damn near impossible to win a divisional game when you miss multiple field goals and lose by 2 ultimately, turn the ball over 3 times, commit 12 penalties for 80 yards, which of course continues to be a season-long trend, go 4 for 11 on third down, and don't use the king on a would-be game-tying 2-point conversion attempt. So this is sort of the 1,000 feet up look. And once you dissect each and every one of these categories, it starts to kind of become clear the undisciplined team lost yesterday in Pittsburgh. Look at the Ravens' offensive line penalty leaders. Patrick McCarry leads the way. He leads the entire NFL at left guard with 12 penalties. Okay, had a boatload yesterday. Ronnie Stanley has 11. That's 4th league-wide. Not a category that you want to be leading. Tyler Linderbaum has 5. Fa'alele has 6. Rosengarten has 3. Voorhees has 2. Voorhees hasn't played in weeks, obviously, since going down with that injury, which allowed McCarry to be inserted into left guard, and Roger Rosengarten's been at right tackle ever since. So again, penalties is a team-wide issue. Yesterday it had to do with the offensive line, but there were also egregious mistakes in special teams phases. Defense, I have a hard time really getting after too much yesterday just because you limit a team to 18 points on 6 field goals and no touchdowns with this Ravens offense, you're going to win a whole lot of games. I'm just kind of breaking it down category by category, and John Harbaugh tried to do the same when it comes to penalties. Sarah transcribed it. He said, quote, "Too many penalties, way too many penalties. The penalties on offense are the one thing that's holding us back. That's the biggest issue." He addressed flags in all phases, but specifically called out the holding penalties on running plays. He also said the linemen downfield penalties are mostly happening on screens, which are tough, but we still got to find a way to be intentional about that. Of course, the one that really hurt him was Patrick McCarry's when he kind of got caught in the wash. He was tripped up in just a bang-bang play. I kind of wasn't in love with that, but McCarry has 6 offensive holding penalties this season. No other player entered week 11 with more than 4. So it's been a rough go for him. Again, I hate to get all over him too much for the ineligible man downfield, but that did wipe out, I believe, a Nelson Aguilar great catch and play there with Lamar Jackson. So Harbaugh goes on to say, quote, "It's putting us in 1st and 20, 2nd and 19, and we're probably the best get back on track offense in the league right now, but we shouldn't have to overcome them. Sometimes it becomes too high of a mountain to scale. That's why we didn't score as many points. That's really the number one reason. That's certainly one of the problems. And as previously noted, this is a team that entered week 11 as the most undisciplined league-wide. Penalties committed, penalty yards negated, and they will, again, lead in that category. Lamar threw an interception yesterday, just the 3rd of this season. You can make a pretty darn good argument that all 3 picks, not his fault. Rashad Bateman, right in his breadbasket against Vegas in the home opener, drop. Mark Andrews, opening drive against the Commanders at home, drop. Justice Hill, catch, wrestled out by Peyton Wilson. Unbelievable effort play from Pittsburgh's DB. Ends up being an interception. So, yeah. All 3 interceptions this season. This is how they started. They ended as interceptions for Lamar, which of course is a knock on him. And all turnovers need context. That is certainly the case for Lamar's 3 this year in the interception category. All 3 of them need context. All 3 turnovers need context from yesterday. And all you really need to know is you can't turn over the football on the road against your division rival and expect to win the game. Again, 3 total turnovers. As for Justin Tucker, a couple misses, certainly the difference. All you had to do was make 1. He misses from 47 and 50. Did make from 54, which hopefully is a sign of things to come for Justin if he can work his way out of this funk in season. But Harbaugh did say there is no thought of bringing in kickers or competition for Justin's job. Quote, the best option right now is to get him back on point. We certainly haven't lost any confidence in Justin. He's definitely our best option. I don't disagree. To say that you have confidence in him right now, though, that's a choice. Justin has struggled. Justin has struggled from 50 plus. Justin has mixed an extra point. And at some point here, particularly when you're missing from 50 as he did yesterday and 47, you are essentially gifting the opponent 3 points, assuming that they have a serviceable kicking unit because of the field swap, because of the field position that you're putting the other team in, should it be a miss. And so, to me, I don't think they should bring in competition. Not right now. You're not bringing in competition right now. That's just not how this works. They have to bet on one of the highest paid kickers and a future Hall of Famer, and who used to be, by the way, Eddie Pinheiro is now formerly the most accurate kicker in NFL history. Again, Justin, by a percentage points, is no longer the most accurate NFL kicker because of these misses, because of these struggles this year. But you have to bet on your guy of 10 plus years who's won you a slew of different games because of his pinpoint accuracy, because of his cold stone nature, that he's going to be able to figure this thing out. All those things deserve to be a part of the conversation in terms of what went wrong. Now, that last bullet point, not using Derrick Henry in that would-be game-tying 2-point conversion try with a little over a minute left in a do-or-die situation on the road. You just put up 6. You're trying to tie it up at 18 apiece. Well, that had Shannon Sharpe, Rex Ryan, and a number of other folks along the national landscape earlier today and really throughout today into tonight talking about the Ravens' Derrick Henry usage, not just on that play itself, not just in the fourth quarter, but really all game long. And it also kind of sparked a bigger conversation, too, in terms of this trend. When the Ravens lose, the King isn't as involved as you'd like.
Fix these miscues. They got to find a way to tighten this thing up. They got to go into the play. Listen, I don't care what anybody says. Derrick Henry needs to get the ball more than 13 damn times. Period.
Yeah, most definitely. More than 13,
I don't care
more
if
than
Lamar
11.
Jackson is going perfect and we've seen him go perfect. He had a perfect game. What was he, like 17, 18? But look how many carries they give Derrick. Y'all got to give him the ball. That's why you brought him in.
Yeah.
He's not a fancy accessory. He's a necessity, not an accessory.
Right.
Y'all need to treat him as such.
Some wordplay there from Unk. What did he say? He's a necessity, not an accessory?
He's a necessity, not an accessory.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that's what he said. He's a necessity, not an accessory. Shannon Sharpe talking about the King. Some context here is needed. Derrick Henry finished with 13 carries. Okay? 13 carries for 65 yards. He had a touchdown, as he has at least once in every single game so far this year. Single season franchise record, by the way, with 15 total. He had a long of 31. He averaged 5 per carry yesterday. Keep in mind, 4 of his touches will not show up in the box sheet because they were negated by penalty. In the first quarter, he had a run called back on a hold, the 10-minute mark. The second quarter, he had a run called back on another hold around the 7:30 mark. Again, this is a team that was penalized 12 times for 80 yards, so it's not a coincidence here. The third quarter, he had a run called back. It was a defensive offside, negated the Kings' run. And then, of course, in his lone touch in the fourth quarter, which, again, officially he had 0 touches in the fourth quarter. But what was negated was the fourth quarter swing pass because of the ineligible man downfield call, which, again, negated a positive yardage play, which went for 15 for Derek. So just keep that in mind. 4 of his touches yesterday won't even show up because of penalties. In terms of the fourth quarter, yes, technically he did have 0 touches. The Ravens had just 2 drives. One, of course, ended prematurely as the Ravens were rolling because of the Peyton Wilson electrifying play, wrestling the ball out of the grasp of Justice Hill. And then the other went for 10 plays and a touchdown. So just some needed context here. Again, doesn't take away from the overarching theme here that you want to use the King as much as possible. That's why you brought him to Baltimore, and you want to use him more so than anything else in games against your bitter rival where it's an absolute bloodbath out there from a physicality standpoint. John Harbaugh was asked about this during his press conference earlier today. And look, Money Vision says, Bobby, we don't give a damn about plays that didn't count. It's the context that's needed, Money. It's the context that goes into, okay, sure, there were 4 plays that were negated, 3 runs and a pass. So he would have had 16 carries for however many yards and a catch. So it doesn't change all that much, but I'm just giving you the context of where things are at. Yes, the point is you want to use him more. You don't want to abandon number 22, your future Hall of Famer. Harbaugh was asked about not having him out there specifically for the 2-point conversion. And he was quoted for saying, guys are on the field for specific types of plays. This is sort of a non-answer. Derek is a great football player. You want him out there situationally, but he's not out there for every play. So like I said after the game, that's the play that was called. That's the personnel group that it was set up in through a lot of game planning. Well, look, I'm no professional game planner, but it's pretty darn apparent to me that as the number 1 ranked red zone offense, you probably want your key cog in there in a do or die situation. You probably want, at the very least, his presence, even if he's not going to be directly involved with the play itself. You probably want him to be in there, right? Of course you want Derek to be in there. I don't understand why he wasn't. And the play itself, as Mike Tomlin spoke about last night in his post-game press conference, because of the timeout that he called, literally, there were tells all over that. It was going nowhere fast. The Steelers got exactly what they wanted. They blew it up, courtesy of Nick Herbig. Nelson Aguilar was in no man's land. He is a solid blocking wide receiver for this team. He was not on that one. Isaiah Likely and him were totally confused. Alignment was an issue, and it was dead in the water before the ball was even snapped. Rex Ryan, not just on this play, the fourth quarter, but Todd Monken and Derrick Henry. You know, Rex had a lot to say earlier today.
Say that Derrick Henry doesn't usually get started till the fourth quarter. Well, yesterday he never got started in the fourth quarter. He had 0 touches in the fourth quarter.
This guy's brilliant.
Of a 1-possession game.
This coordinator is brilliant.
Todd Monken.
Excuse me. Todd Monken's brilliant.
You said what now?
Yeah, he had no touches in the fourth quarter.
I mean, it's just you can't make this crap up. Like in being a Raven for 10 years, man. Like I wore all my purple and all
He
that
did.
stuff
Rex
because
wore
I
his
knew it
purple
was the
yesterday.
matchup. Like, by gosh, we're going to get this thing finally. And because this team's flat out on you. The most physical team wins. But you know what? Who else does? The smartest damn coach.
That's right. And
All right,
that's
so
why
give me a break, man. This is the Ravens had 12 penalties. 12 penalties. All right, in this kind of thing, which is a hell of a lot. And then, so it doesn't show a whole hell of a lot of discipline. Still have a chance to win. Your best player, all right, your best player. Hey, you know what? If you ain't going to use him, send him to Dallas. Send him to Dallas where he should have been. Send him to this place, this place, this place. This is a first ballot Hall of Fame running back and the most physical guy. If you got the most physical guy, I want to play against, this team's really physical. Yeah. I'm going to put my physical guy against you and let's see who wins.
Right.
And they stop. How the hell? I always said this, Greeny.
Yeah.
There's one coordinator in the league that can stop the Baltimore Ravens, and that's their offensive coordinator, Todd Monken. I've seen him do it. I've seen him do it.
Rex in rare form earlier today on Get Up, courtesy of ESPN. Here is the game log for Derek so far through 11 weeks. He has scored, again, at least one touchdown in every single game he's played as a Baltimore Raven. He's scored 2 touchdowns 3 times. What I want to take a look at, though, specifically, and let's go big screen so we can all take a look at what typically goes well for the Ravens from a usage standpoint. Okay, you see the column that I'm looking at here. Column or row? Why can I never get that? Column. Is column vertical or horizontal? Live. Chat. Row, which is this shows you I'm on very, very little sleep at this point in the post game day operation here. Is what I have highlighted a column or a row? Column is vertical. I had it right the first time. Thank you, 907. Appreciate you. Row is horizontal. Column is vertical. I promise I have a degree. I promise. Look at the column that I have highlighted. That's the amount of carries so far each week. Okay. And let's zone in on, for the purpose of this conversation, the games that he goes above 20 carries. Okay. Above 20. Look at what the Ravens have done when they feed him the rock. Beat Dallas, 25 carries. Beat Washington, 24 carries. Beat Buffalo convincingly, 24. Thumped Denver, 23. And while obviously game planning wise and every single game is different, circumstances are different, the formula is clear. The more you use 22, typically the better you are as an offense. And while there was a lot of minutia and nuance to Derrick Henry's usage yesterday, which we've already covered, and penalties were a part of the story, being that several of them negated carries that were given to him, good things happen when this dude's toting the rock. And good things happen when you have the sheer presence of Derrick Henry alone out on the football field, coupled with Lamar on any given play. And to think that you have had so much incredible success in the red zone with these two guys out in the same backfield, and you go away from that, even if it was strategized and heavily game planned on. Why? Why? Why are you putting yourselves in that type of position? It's a questionable decision. And of course, it brings this entire fan base back to what happened last year and abandoning the run and their calling card in the AFC Championship game when a trip to the Super Bowl was on the line against the Kansas City Chiefs. Tonight's live stream and my channel continues to be sponsored and supported by Primary Residential Mortgage. It is the holiday season, and you're looking at a young Santa Claus. Take a look. Am I rocking that hat, or am I rocking that hat? Or do I look like a complete certified goofball? You let me know. But being that the holiday season is here, you may be looking for a way to access extra cash for gifts and celebrations. If that's the case, I got a solution for you. It's called PRMI's Cash Out Refinance, which lets you tap into your home's equity to access the funds you need for your holiday shopping and festivities. And on top of all of that, Primary Residential Mortgage is going to cover your closing costs up to $750 for applications that are submitted by February 9th of 2025. You can take advantage of this special offer by applying through the Mid-Atlantic website. The link is included in the show notes below. Just mention my name throughout the process. You can reach out to PRMI today, make this holiday season even brighter, and really all it is, and again, the link is at the top of my show notes. Super easy. It'll take you to this site right here, my specific landing page. You can fill out this information to get in touch. It's simple, easy, effortless. They can't wait to hear from you. Apply now right here. You can learn more by visiting the show notes below. Well, next up on the docket here is a certain hard truth that ESPN analyst and former Pittsburgh Steeler Ryan Clark shared about Lamar Jackson. And I think the reality here is while Lamar has absolutely asserted his dominance across this league, there are two teams that have had his number. It's really undeniable. He is 66-19 throughout his 6+ year career in this league against teams not named the Pittsburgh Steelers and Kansas City Chiefs. Against those two teams, a bitter rival and a team that he once referred to as his kryptonite, he's 3-9. Mike Tomlin and Andy Reid, somehow, some way, consistently outcoach John Harbaugh and consistently make Lamar Jackson look average or below. Pittsburgh's won 8 of the last 9 meetings against the Ravens. That's not a rivalry. It's one of the most storied and iconic rivalries in all of sport, not just football, in all of sport. But of late, it's been all Pittsburgh. And there's some context that's required for that over the course of those 9 games, some of which have been due to planning and strategizing for a deep playoff run and regular season finales, sitting starters. Injuries have played a part, of course. Illness has played a part. But the reality is, Lamar doesn't look like Lamar in these games. And the statistics to go along with it, while his supporting cast, as documented earlier this week, has not been good. Lamar himself is a part of the problem as well. He is now 1-4 against Pittsburgh. His offensive units over the course of those 5 games have put up just 19 points per game. He's thrown just 5 passing touchdowns and 8 interceptions. 5 total touchdowns, including on the ground. And he's turned the football over 11 times with a passer rating of 66.2. Pretty much almost the exact number that he finished with yesterday, 66.1 to be exact. He was sacked twice. He was 16 of 33 through the air for 207 yards, a touchdown, a pick, and he chipped in 46 yards on the ground for 4 carries. We'll get to the ground game in just a second because I thought that we saw a tentative Lamar Jackson. We saw somebody who was an indecisive Lamar Jackson. Listen to what Ryan Clark said on the Monday Night Football booth earlier this afternoon, specifically about his performance.
Me so much of the Kansas City game, though.
And
the 3rd and 11 you showed the first time. Take off, Lamar.
Multiple times.
Multiple times he had chances to take off because they were saying we are not going to come out of coverage because we've seen you burn people this year. Josh Allen, when he stuck his foot in the ground, he said, I'm going to be the best athlete on the field.
But why does it get to that
Lamar
point?
Jackson, go be the best athlete on the field. It's when he plays his biggest team rival, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and his biggest individual rival, Patrick Mahomes, that he stops being Lamar Jackson.
It reminded me so much in the Chiefs game, too, in which you watch and you feel like he's hunting big plays downfield. And there's this kind of continuity. Now, I will say some of that was obviously because of down and distance, because the Steelers are really good on early downs. And some of it is what you alluded to, which is the coverage. You know, going into this game, I remember last week against Washington when Pittsburgh played them, I said, this defense is very good against scrambling quarterbacks. They are disciplined with their rush lanes.
So, again, I want to be really, really abundantly clear on this. There's a lot of blame to go around, in my opinion, that should come first before we start talking about Lamar Jackson. And I covered that off the top of the stream for a reason in terms of prioritizing. Multiple missed field goals from Tuck, 3 turnovers, one of which was, well, it wasn't on Lamar, right? That interception was not on Lamar. Justice Hill has to find a way in a rivalry game to haul that in. So missed multiple field goal misses, turning the ball over, 12 total penalties, which negated 80 yards, 4 for 11 on third down, the Derrick Henry usage, right? I mentioned all those things that are a part of this. Now, of course, Lamar's part of that third down inefficiency. But I thought we saw a tentative Lamar Jackson. And I got to agree with Ryan Clark that some of this was reminiscent to what we watched unfold late last January against the Kansas City Chiefs at home inside the bank. It was a tentative Lamar Jackson. It was an inaccurate Lamar Jackson. It was somebody who seemed to be unsettled from the jump. He wasn't taking his checkdowns. He was airmailing Mark Andrews. He looked to be indecisive and almost unsure, particularly when it comes to the lanes and windows of opportunity to tuck it and run that would have went for big chunk plays and instead tried to do it through the air. It was eerily reminiscent. He just felt stuck out there at times. And I don't know why that Lamar Jackson tends to rear the ugly head in big games against Pittsburgh and Kansas City. Again, it's undeniable against teams that are not named Pittsburgh and Kansas City. He is 66-19. That's a winning percentage of 78. 3-9 for a 25% winning rate against Pittsburgh and Kansas City. It is night and day. And while there is plenty of blame to go around, that was apparent to me watching the game. Lamar Jackson was tentative. He was unsure. He was indecisive. And Mr. Superman, a.k.a. Mr. Jackson, as Mike Tomlin refers to him as, did not show up. And yet, despite that, despite everything else that I just mentioned as well off the top, they still, in the game's final moments, had an opportunity, and a damn good opportunity, to tie it up and force overtime. That, if you're an optimist out there and you're looking for something to hang your hat on tonight, I think that would probably be a good place to start when you're taking a look at Week 12. Well, of course, it didn't take all that long for the MVP discussion to start coming up in the national circles. Chase Daniel, former NFL QB, now on the facility on Fox, tweeted out that Lamar's season is unreal. But how can MVP voters not look at Lamar's 4 losses with the best offenses of football in every category? Josh Allen is about to go 9-2, and he did end up going 9-2 as the Buffalo Bills take down Kansas City in the 425 window on Sunday for the Chiefs' first loss. Josh Allen went 9-2 with much less on the offensive side of the ball. Most valuable player, not best player, Chase Daniel argues. Well, just so we're clear, the best player in the league so far through 11 weeks, and still the front runner is Lamar Jackson. And that's not to say that Josh isn't having a tremendous year. What we watched in that Sunday night football game earlier this fall was utter domination. And the Ravens totally imposing their will in just about every single category over the Buffalo Bills under the primetime lights. But now through 11 weeks, it is still clear that Lamar's the front runner for MVP, but he did just open up the conversation and opened up the door for the Josh Allens. And maybe, despite the 5 interception game 2 weeks ago, Jared Goff can creep in after what his Detroit Lions did to Jacksonville, which was just downright sad for the Jaguars, to be honest with you. 52-6 or something along those lines. So yeah, don't let people tell you that just because it was a total clunker in Pittsburgh that Lamar all of a sudden is out of the MVP race. For my money, he's still at the top. At the same time, that door's cracked open a bit more than it was a little while ago. We'll open up the guest lines in just a bit. I'll drop this link into the live chat right now if you'd like to join me and share a thought on this one. It'll be week 12 after tonight. Who's playing tonight? Houston and Dallas down in Cowboys country. 8:15 kickoff on ESPN. A few other notes. Good to see Roquan Smith back atop this list. He was the highest graded Raven with a minimum of 25 snaps according to Pro Football Focus in week 11. 83.8 overall grade. Guy was flying around. Finished with a game-high 13 tackles, 8 of which were solo, 2 tackles for loss. He did leave the game with a hamstring injury. John Harbaugh would not give any more on that. That's going to be a big deal because Malik Harrison is the next man up, and there's a significant drop-off. Kyle Hamilton finished with a 78.8 grade, 10 days removed, as we all know, from that ankle sprain. He also was evaluated for a concussion in this game. He's just a beast. What more can you say about number 14? Ardarius Washington, more on him in just a bit, 73 flat. Isaiah Likely, 70 flat. And Daniel Fa'alele creeps in, 69 flat. Those are your top 5 highest graded Ravens in week 11, according to PFF. John Harbaugh would not give an update on Roquan. He said pretty much, a non-answer. We're just monitoring as we go. And as Jameson Hensley noted, Roquan has yet to miss a game due to injury since the end of 2019. That was when he was in Chicago. They placed him on IR that season for the final 3 games with a torn pectoral muscle. When Roquan went out, it was clear what Pittsburgh wanted to attack. And that was precisely Malik Harrison. This would be a big loss. I know Roquan's been under fire this year, deservedly so for some of his play in the middle part of that defense. The underneath pass coverage has been an issue. But he was one of the best players on the field yesterday, and I don't think there's any question about that. Did Patrick Queen outplay him? Probably. PQ had himself a game. Stripped Isaiah Likely, 10 total tackles, 3 of which were solo, a tackle for loss. PQ was flying around. Game captain. Mike Tomlin knew what he was doing, motivating him. But this would be a significant loss. And hamstrings linger. And you want to be careful with this. Considerably. John Harbaugh also confirmed during his press conference earlier this afternoon that Kyle Hamilton and Ardarius Washington will indeed be the 2 starting safeties moving forward. Marcus Williams, who logged just 1 snap and was benched yet again, only logged a snap because of Kyle Hamilton's injury at the time yesterday. Harbaugh referred to him as a depth piece. He said, quote, "That was the plan going in with those 2 guys," referring to Kyle and Ardarius. We were trying to attack some issues we had in the back end. I thought they played well back there. Ardarius had earned that opportunity. I think we can all agree about that. We put Kyle back there as well. I thought he played very well back there. He did a great job communicating. They both did. That will definitely be the formula going forward. Okay, great. That's a fix. But you want to know what it takes away from? Kyle's greatest strength, which is up by the line of scrimmage, wreaking havoc as a blitzer, wreaking havoc against the run. That's what sucks. Kyle's versatility gives the Ravens really no other option but to do this because of where Marcus Williams is. He's essentially the odd man out here, and certainly on the outside looking in terms of their plans, which is horrific as a player who occupies and owns the third highest cap hit number on this team, not league-wide, but team-wide. That's what the bummer is, though. While this fixes a gaping hole, and of course you're going to use Kyle wherever you can, to me, his greatest strength is up by the line of scrimmage, using his rangy frame, using his ability to read opposing offenses and quarterbacks, how great he is in space. So this is a bummer to me, honestly. It is a fix, and I think we should call it as that, and I commend the Ravens for making that change. But I also feel like you're not at your full capacity. You're not at your full potential here. Given sort of desperate times call for desperate measures here on the back end, and 14 is going to provide that kind of stability. The other reason why they're in this situation is another dude who is completely on the other side looking at. Can I talk tonight, maybe? Can I talk tonight? English. Chef and Gene coming to you guys in a second because I can't talk. I'm just going to give you the mic. Another reason why they're in this situation, and certainly a dude who's on the outside looking in, is Eddie Jackson. He did not make the trip to Pittsburgh. Harbaugh would not comment on that, but referred to it as an in-house issue. This is why I took the stance that I did on the post-game show yesterday and inspired a little bit of a debate between Sarah and me. While this isn't confirming that there's something going on when in the drama category, I'm old enough to remember him referring to the Marcus Williams issue as an internal type situation, which led to his benching within the last month. 77 figures. Of course I keep talking about Eddie Jackson. Of course I do. It's a part of the equation. He's no longer a part of the equation, but to me, it's so indicative of what's going on right now. This is a secondary that has underperformed. This is a secondary whose starting safety and the third highest cap hit team-wide is no longer even in their plans. I'm not saying that Eddie Jackson was supposed to come in and light the room on fire. He was the latter half of free agency for a reason. And they weren't going to get what's-his-face from Denver. He was too expensive. Justin Simmons. They weren't going to spend that kind of money in free agency at the safety position, particularly given how much they have on the books from the big splash they made on Marcus Williams back in 2022. So I'm not saying this to say that I expected Eddie to be an all-pro. It would have been great if he was serviceable. They didn't pay anything for him, and he won't be a part of the team next year. He may not even be a part of the team if they make a playoff run the way he's going. But this should be a part of the conversation. Harbaugh's not going to talk about it the same way he didn't with Marcus Williams, but I think we all have imaginations. To the guest lines. Chef, you talk. I can't talk.
Man, Bobby. So looking at some like the film and stuff that came out about the game.
I saw you watched it again. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched it again mostly because I was just curious. Obviously, when they're showing you the broadcast, they don't show you, end zone to end zone. But there were just throws underneath or lanes that Lamar could have just took. I'm not saying, every time he sees a lane, he needs to run down there for 25 yards. But if we're in granted with the penalties and stuff like that, if we're in like a 1st and 15, 1st and 20, you see a little open lane or something, you can just take that little chunk, get about 7 yards, slide, go down. Then that's still second and long. But if they're going to keep giving you that, taking what the defense gives you, then here you are, second down, maybe like 2nd and 11 or something like that. You get like another nice little 6 yards or something like that. Now you're at 3rd and manageable. That's something that you can do. That's how you keep the sticks moving. The other thing that I do have pushback on, this is more just situational football. You and Sarah both agreed that don't take the onside kick. I strongly disagree with that. And the situational football aspect of it is, regardless of where the Steelers would have started, whether they did an onside kick or not, they only need 10 yards. They only need a first down to seal the game. It doesn't matter regardless where they start on the field. They just need 10 yards. Taking an onside kick would have gave you an extra chance to at least try and possess the ball and then have your defense go out there and try and get, 3 stops, use all 3 timeouts.
You're willing to roll the dice on an onside kick when your rushing defense was the way it was leading up to that point?
I mean, it's an extra chance. It's an extra chance. And when you also look at it, I mean, the game was only a 2-score game. If they get into field goal range, and I mean, let's say, they recover the onside kick, they're starting with the ball at like 50-yard line, just about. So they would have to get into field goal range, kick a field goal, and even then we still would need a touchdown or something like that. Or if they don't, they punt it. Lamar has a long drive, but it's still very manageable. I don't know if that's a hot take, but still.
We'll agree to disagree. What else you got?
Last thing, it's just the physicality of the game. I know it's just Ravens and Steelers is always going to be a physical game, but it just seemed like our offensive line was just getting worked from start of like the first drive to the last drive. Offensive line was getting worked. Our defensive line was getting worked. Our defensive line was putting up a fight. Don't get me wrong. We were getting sacks. We were getting pressures. But, I mean, if you told me that was the number 1 rushing defense out there and they were letting Najee Harris and Jalen Warren start gashing them for about 5, 6, 7 yards, I don't know what to say. It was tough. It was tough to watch.
Pressures wise, it's interesting. PFF wise, it's actually, it doesn't feel as if it's indicative of what we watched. Linderbaum led up 3. Stanley had 2. McCary, Fa'alele, and Rosengarten each had 1. So there's nothing like egregious there. But then again, any defensive front that's made up of TJ Watt. I mean, how many times when you went back and watched, by the way, and I haven't yet, when you went back and watched, was it just the one unblocked gaff that they had on Watt?
There was the one unblocked one. I think that was maybe more just like a communication thing, to where maybe they didn't slide anybody over. Maybe they didn't let Rosengarten know that he was going to be all by himself. I mean, I don't know. I truly don't know. But watching it again, it's crazy because you're seeing the offensive line literally just get walked back right into Lamar, and then Lamar starts maneuvering through the pocket, which he's great at, but then he just wouldn't just keep moving up the field. Yes. Like Tomlin said, Lamar's not that much of a threat if he's moving, east and west. If he's moving left or right, he's not that much of a threat. But once he starts moving north, then, the whole game changes. And I think that's just some of the layups that he could have took. Just
if you're wondering what Chef is, if you're wondering what Chef is referring to there, it was this
2-point conversion at the end. What was going through your mind at that point?
I wanted to see what structure they were in and call a timeout, and we did that. And thankfully, we even saw some of the semblance of the schematics of what they intended to run. I think that made them change and go the other direction. And obviously, particularly Mr. Jackson is a little bit less dangerous when he's going to his left than his right. And so we're thankful for that.
If you're walking away from that clip and not thinking that Harbaugh didn't get out-coached yesterday, I got nothing for you. Tomlin out-coached him in that specific part right there, taking the time out, getting a good look at it. They knew what was coming the entire time. Patrick Queen had similar things to say in his post-game press conference. I'm going to get the guest lines keep going here today, Jeff. So appreciate the call, brother.
I do have one question for you. Moving forward, in this offseason and whatnot, I feel like Harbaugh is pretty much on the hot seat. I feel like for him, it's either a deep playoff run, essentially go to the Super Bowl, or your seat is hot.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. This is you don't get back to at least where you were, right? You don't get back to at least where you were. It could be time for a change. Yeah. So I'm happy to at least, I mean, I'm not, again, that's not me calling for change. I think there's going to be a lot of change that happens over the next month and a half. And I'm old enough to remember, especially as somebody who grew up in upstate New York, what the Giants were able to do during the Eli Manning years as wild card teams. So, and I'm old enough to remember what the Ravens have done in their franchise history as wild card teams in the postseason. So I'm not willing to go there yet, but if he doesn't get back to at least where they have been, the AFC Championship game, it could be time to make a change, because Lamar will only be around for so long. I know you hate to say that as if to say something's imminent. No, Lamar's not going anywhere, and you hope he's going to be in this league battling the Burrows, the Mahomes, the Herberts, and Herbert's starting to play some good football, by the way, and all these other young elite quarterbacks for the next 10 plus years. I hope that's the case, at least. So thanks, Jeff.
Yeah.
Gene, what's up, dude?
Hey, what's up, Bobby?
What you got for me tonight?
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about just the game in general, because I feel like with Lamar, I have some notes that kind of took over the game, or just in general about the game. As I saw Lamar, and he looked obviously, whenever we play the Chiefs or Steelers, we look, pedestrian compared to what we do against other teams. And it's funny because it's always the two extremes. It's always the best team, either the best team in the league we don't show up against, or the worst team like the Browns and Raiders. Against good teams like the Bills or Broncos, we blow them out of water. And I expect that with the Chargers. Actually, it's just a classic game. We're gonna blow them out prime time Monday night. I'm calling it, because this is what we do. This is what we love to do. We love to play terribly and down to the competition, or we don't like to play up to the competition. It's always like that. But with teams that are on our level, we completely make them look just terrible, and that's our brand of football, it looks like. And against teams that know us, or the best teams in the league, 3 turnovers, 2 missed field goals, and 12 penalties. I mean, I feel like we're going to hear that all week, and only 2 points away from winning still. We just can't get over it, And it's always Harbaugh getting outcoached by Tomlin every time we play. The last time, that last win, was that Lamar, or was that the 8 of 9? That was one Lamar game, right? Was that last year?
Because because he was 1-3 going into the weekend.
Right. So, I mean, it's just always with Harbaugh the same thing since 5 years ago now. It's just been outcoached. Better team. I mean, Harbaugh has had the better roster. You see Mike Tomlin struggling to get this team, keeping his meaningless record of never having a losing season. I mean, it's not meaningless, but no playoff wins in 9 years. So, but anyways,
unfortunately, going up against Andy and Mike, he's often seen as the younger brother, and
outcoached.
Yeah. And in some cases, again, I think some of this, as it always does after a loss, gets overly magnified. I think there were bigger issues that went into yesterday, and we wouldn't even be having this conversation had Justin Tucker kicked one of the 2 misses through the uprights. But there's enough of a trend over the years that I think there's a sample size that we can at least have this conversation as a secondary item, specifically speaking to yesterday's loss. Gene,
Right.
thanks for dropping by, dude. You got anything else for me?
No, I just want to say like the defense played well. You know, obviously saw Marcus Williams not be out there and 100 times better. I mean, we'll see with the sample size is only one game, but I liked our defense without Marcus, you know. So that's all I gotta say.
No doubt. Thanks, Gene. Thanks for the call, dude. Yeah, and Marcus Williams was benched, as we know, and then he played one snap. According to some tracking sites, he didn't play a snap because it was a play that Nate Wiggins had a penalty on. So some sites maybe don't track it from a penalty standpoint, being that it wasn't an actual play. But in my book, it was one play. Marcus did get one play, and that was it, number 32 back there. And moving forward, just in case you're just popping onto the live stream, John Harbaugh noted that it's going to be Darius Washington and Kyle Hamilton as the deep safeties from this point forward. Richard in the hood. What's going on, dude?
Hey, Bobby.
How are you, brother?
Man, so I don't know if you remember last week. So I said I called this, and I hate that I called this. I called this in a super chat. I said the defense was we were going to lose, but it wasn't going to be on the defense. It was going to be on offensive performance because of the way that the offense performs against top tier defenses. And it's not something outside the norm. I mean, we've seen it. You know, I mentioned it. It was with the Chiefs against the Raiders with a shitty offense. We lost to Max Crosby. Again, we lose again to the Browns. Shitty offense against the Browns defense. And now we're playing Steelers. Steelers, I would argue, is probably top, if not number one defense, at least top 2 or 3. I would say, the consistently for years, they've been top, 2, if not the number 1 defense in the league. So, I called it. My gut was telling me that. I hate that I was right. I wish I was wrong. But this is pretty much, this is exactly what I was expecting coming in to yesterday. It was a little bit ironic because I was talking about how my best friend's girlfriend is a Steelers fan. She was not overly optimistic about the game either because they didn't score a single touchdown against what is the 32 ranked passing defense. So they're not actually all that hopeful as well on the other side. Even though they won.
Part. That's the funny part about friggin' Ravens Steelers. Does anybody come away feeling great?
No, I don't think so. No. But that I would just say that. But I mean, I was hearing some other people talk, and they're saying about Harbaugh. I've been calling for Harbaugh's job since 2018. I go back to 4-5 versus 6-1. I'm like, if we never drafted Lamar, we wouldn't be a playoff team. Period. And I think that kind of becomes abundantly clear. And so, with him being at the helm, I don't see us being able to go over the hump. I think the indicator and what I'm really going to be waiting for this season is how do we bounce back against the Steelers later on this season. So if we're able to bounce back and actually have an offensive performance against the Pittsburgh defense, I'm going to be okay. Then I would have far more optimism going into the playoffs. I think also whatever kind of happens the next couple of games, as ugly as it's going to be, so long as we get into the wild card, then all bets are off. We're not going to get number 1 seed. We're not going to get the 1st seed. So whether or not we're the 7th seed or the 2nd seed, I don't think it matters. So I would say, from a regular season game standpoint, I wouldn't. It sucks. You don't want to lose the Steelers, but I would say, don't write off the season yet. I would say wait until the 2nd game of the Steelers and see them play again with that defense. And if they take anything out of that, because if they take anything out of that same game plan you can use against Kansas City. I think Pittsburgh is like maybe not 1A, 1B, but it's probably like a Kansas City light.
Round 2, December 21st, Ravens Steelers at the bank. That'll be in the middle of their 10-game stretch. I keep saying that. 10-day stretch, 3 games. December 15th, 21st, and Christmas Day on the 25th, they have games. Giants, Steelers, Texans. Thank you for the super chat, my friend. Good to see you.
Yep, good to see you.
Talk soon. Asmodeus down there in Virginia. Yes, the guest lines are open. Captain Hard writes, I think the games against Steelers and Chiefs, take it out his hands, run the ball, and keep running it. You know, he seems to go back to normal on the final drive when he isn't thinking. I think a lot of no huddle might help a lot. Captain Hard with some comments about Lamar Jackson and maybe some of the tentativeness that I was commenting on earlier on in the live stream. Judah, coming from class maybe on this Monday. I think I know your schedule at this point. What's going on, dude?
Yeah, man, I'm headed to class. So I try to be real quick. I got a couple things, though. So first of all, my prediction was that Odafe Oweh was going to miss a sack and Bateman was going to drop multiple passes. And I was wrong. Bateman didn't drop a single pass, and Oweh completely went off. But Bobby, I'll tell you, that's when I knew we were going to lose the game, because right then and there, I knew that something was wrong with the universe. I knew it's no way we're going to win a game where they both are playing good. But nah,
hey,
seriously,
can I just
man.
Mention, though, can we make sure we give Rashad some flowers? He had a couple big time catches yesterday.
Yeah.
And Odafe is off
did.
to a career high 7 sacks through 11 weeks of football. I got to eat some crow on that one. I know Taurus is probably somewhere down in Texas being like, yeah, eat crow, because I have said in recent weeks that all Odafe does everything besides sack the quarterback. He had 2.5 yesterday. He's flying around. Brian Baldinger had a great breakdown of some of the technique, some of the movement, some of the high motor showcase technique that he's using. And I'm thrilled for him. Obviously, the Ravens invested in him in the offseason with that 5th-year option. And so great for 99, great for 7. Continue.
Right. So I got a few things I noticed about that game is that I honestly, a lot of things didn't go right, but it does come down. I'm a Justin Tucker guy, but we lost that game because of the 2 missed field goals. I mean, because the way these teams are so evenly matched historically, and you know, even this year specifically, because they're very evenly matched. You know what I mean? They both like to run the ball. They both have a dominant running back, because I consider Najee Harris pretty dominant when he gets going. And
Absolutely.
when you have a Russell Wilson he's probably not the Russell Wilson of old, but he's still competent enough not to put the ball in harm's way, right? So that means that they're a team that likes to possess the ball like we do. So it's going to always come down to a close scoring game. And anytime Justin Tucker misses 2 field goals, we lose to the Steelers almost every time, unless Lamar does something great. So with that being said, that's the main reason why we lost. But one thing I noticed, I want to speak on this. So Darius Washington being at safety has completely changed this defense. I was telling everybody this. I had family members arguing with me when I told them that our pass defense, in my opinion, was so atrocious because of one position, free safety. And they said there's no way one player can be that influential, good or bad to a defense. And I said, just wait until we get a more competent safety there, and this defense is going to look different. And just like I thought the defense would look different, it looked totally different with a more competent player there.
And they're going with their former undrafted guy out of TCU, our Darius Washington. He's been an unsung guy. He's been banged up in recent years, but he is healthy. He's playing great football for them. I can't help but remember when Wink Martindale came on our show in the offseason, and we mentioned in our Darius Washington, and he called him kind of short, too small. And it's not untrue in terms of what makes most good NFL safeties. He is certainly below average in both weight and height. He's 5'8", $170 last time I checked. But you know what? He plays as if he's 6'1", 190. 200 pounds. He plays with a chip on his shoulder. He's got a knack for the football. He throws his body in there. He's flying around. I'm happy for him. Obviously happy for the pass defense too, because this is a shot in the arm.
Right. Just and 2 more things. I wanted to mention that I was very upset with the last play. When the guy before me was talking about the onside kick, I agreed that they shouldn't have done an onside kick. I think they made the right decision. The only thing was, what I was so upset about is the fact that they walked Justin Fields out 2 plays in a row, and obviously, with the game on the line, Mike Tomlin is not about to put Justin Fields in to throw the ball. As a matter of fact, he benched Justin Fields because he feels like Russell Wilson is a better passer. So there's no way with the game on the line, Justin Fields comes in and throws the ball. How does Baltimore let him scramble? How don't you sell out to stop the run if you know for a fact, like I did, that they were going to run the ball with Justin Fields? He was not out there to pass the ball.
And think about it. They got lucky on the first one, too, because he slid short of the line.
Exactly. I don't get how you just don't sell. I mean, when he walk now, mind you, he could do a trick play in the third quarter, the second quarter. They may walk Justin out and let him pass the ball, but there's no way Mike Tomlin is letting him pass the ball with the game on the line. He was in there to run 100%.
That was another out-coaching thing there, right? You know, he had some packages designed up for Justin to keep him engaged, to keep him involved, and it came back to bite the Ravens in a big moment. Right. So, Judah, safe travels, brother. Appreciate the call, man.
All right, man.
Talk to you soon. Oh, you're talking a bunch of shit down there, aren't you? Yeah, you're talking a bunch of junk down there. This guy, you know, you come and go. You know, you're like ladies in my life. You come and go. I haven't heard from you in weeks and months. And then what does he do? He's mixing up in the live chat. He's not calling me anymore. I'm like, what's this dude's deal?
Bobby, I've been having nothing but negative takes lately. I had nothing good to say about Roquan lately, especially after what happened with you and him. You know, I just was like, let me just keep my thoughts to myself lately. But it resurged after yesterday. I'm upset at everything on the offense except for Nelly, except for Nelly, Bateman, and Andrews. Everybody else, I really don't understand, man. You should know what to expect going into AFC North game, let alone versus the Steelers, man.
Well, don't be mad at the King for not getting enough totes.
Well, Henry did what he could do, but still, granted, I'm gonna give Henry a little bit of grace. It was his first, game in an environment like that. But come on, man, keep the ball high and tight, man. That should have been rule number one. But aside from that, man, I really don't understand it, man. Bobby, we done dealt with this 2023. We done dealt with this 2022. Like, how many more years do we got to keep having these moments of trying to figure out what to do, 2-point conversion, goal line? Just run the ball. Just run the ball. I don't understand. Then they say Lamar has control of the offense. Lamar, why? I highly doubt Patrick Mahomes is ever going to run a play like that in a 2-point conversion situation. And it's no shade towards Lamar. But let's be honest here. I highly doubt Tom Brady's going to run a play like that on a 2-point conversion.
Checking out of that in hindsight, checking out of that is logical. Tomlin really put on a masterclass there, and the timeout, clearly, as I showed earlier on, he knew what was coming. And then, honestly, listen to what PQ had to say, matter of fact, right now, because there was a tell here as well last night. Listen to this.
That 2-point conversion, could you walk us through your mindset against a versatile player like that?
Yeah, we seen how they came out. I think it was tackle over. Justice was in the backfield. He was wide. I think Mark Andrews was to my side too. And they ran quick this way to try to get everybody flowing. And Lamar was running up to the line of scrimmage. I think he was about to do a jump pass, but I can't remember to who. Maybe the guy who reported eligible. And then we called a timeout. We just understood, like, everybody just do their job. We ain't got to do nothing spectacular. Just go out there and just get a play and make a stop. And Joy, who usually be the most quiet one, was sitting there like, we stopping them. They're not scoring this 2-point conversion. So that was huge. And hearing him actually gave everybody some confidence to go out there and get that stop.
I think it's safe to say he had a pretty good idea of what was going on there.
He had an exact idea of what was about to happen.
Yeah.
And here, all I can say from this, Bob, because I don't got the answers, man. But what's the end result here? We going to keep changing our offensive coordinators, or are we going to address the real problem? Because it's clearly a mentality issue. It has to be. It has to be, yo. You change the play because Tomlin caught a timeout. What was wrong with just running it again? They wasn't stopping us. Why are we so afraid? Why do we get away from the things that make us great in these
Well,
type of
yeah.
games, man?
To me, it's like just be who you are in the red zone, and who you are is the most dominant group inside the 20s league wide, and part of that is having the two-headed monster. And when you only have one head out there, it takes away from obviously the threat. And Pittsburgh was all over it. Nelly and Isaiah were in no man's land, completely bickering and whatnot on the left end, and it went nowhere fast. And the formation was a disaster. The execution obviously was a disaster. The Steelers had that written up all day long, and the Ravens got what they deserved on that specific play. So I'm going to keep these guest lines moving, brother. Appreciate
Yeah,
you.
man. All right, Bobby.
Hey, you keep running it in the live chat. I'm coming for you.
Oh, man, you already know it, man. Ain't nothing, man.
I'll talk to you soon. Appreciate it. Let's get Jewel and Manny in here at the same time if Manny's around. I don't know what he's up to, but what's up, brother?
Hey, Bobby. I agree with Torres. I agree with him. There's some aspects of what he said was right. That you know, there's I would like to harken back on what he said about like 2020. I'll go even back even further than that. I made a point I think it was the last loss we had. I think it was when I was regarding like the years that we spent wasting, like 2022, 2020. Well, 2020, I mean, we made the playoffs, but still, like, that was just that year. But I'll even go back to even before those years, even after the Super Bowl win for John Harbaugh. It's like, how many more years are we going to waste? Like going through the motions, and other teams are going to start passing us by, and having the same mistakes like we did last night. I mean, you don't make those type of mistakes offensively. The bad play calling, the dumb penalties, like when is enough with that? You know what I'm saying? It gets old and tiring. You keep looking at each game and you're looking like, all right, maybe something's gonna be different. And you see the team you see last week and in the previous weeks, we're capable of blowing any team out in this league. But for some reason, two teams like we've always known, we struggle against the Chiefs, we struggle against the Steelers. For some godly reason, we don't have the killer instinct to go up against those teams, and it's weird. It's weird to me because we're capable of beating anybody.
And here are the numbers that suggest that: 3-9, Steelers, Chiefs. That's Lamar's record against those two teams. And as you see, 66-19 against all other teams league wide. There is something that happens when they go up against Andy Reid, when they go up against Mike Tomlin. Some of this is John Harbaugh. Some of this is Lamar. Some of this is Monken in the AFC Championship game, right? Some of this is the other nuance that went on. The Zay Flowers, of course, played a big role in the AFC Championship game and the ultimate outcome. So there's always context to it. There's always multiple blame divvying up to go around. But let's get Manny involved here as well. Good to see you, my friend. Let me unmute your ass here. Good to see you.
What's up, Julian? Hey, I saw, I think it was Chef, that he was saying he was blaming me and then blaming you, Julian, because of the loss, because we couldn't contact Harbaugh.
I mean, I was going to say real quick, I did say it was going to either they play within themselves and it'd be like a blowout, like 34-14, or which I was expecting, a close game, typical in a Ravens Steelers game, like 20-23 Ravens. I was feeling good about that game leading up to it. Like, all right, eventually we got to beat these guys. And then same things rear this ugly head again. So,
yep. Almost like, in a sense of way, a repeat of last year, but instead of drop passes, missed field goals. I don't blame that interception on Lamar and on Justice. It was just, like Cam Newton said, the football is not faithful to who it's thrown, to the Hall of Famers, who wants it most. That's what he said. And speaking about Harbaugh, if Lacey DaCosta is listening, I volunteer as head coach for 1 week. I can. Hey, I might be the guy at the end of the table, or at the end of the bar, or even outside the bar. But I volunteer. I volunteer, and then I can say if it's very hard or or if it's very easy.
I will use my direct line of contact to text Mrs. EDC and say, hey, I got a sucker for you. All right? I got a real sucker that wants to throw his neck. He wants to stick his neck out there, all right, and put his body on the line and his pride on the line for the next month and a half to serve as the interim head coach of the Baltimore Ravens. And we're going to fly his ass up from Mexico City. We're going to bring him to Baltimore. He's going to be freezing his ass off here. Okay? We're going to send him up to Owings Mills at one winning drive. We're going to give you my old key card that definitely doesn't work anymore. Okay? You're going to get down to the bottom of who had the Greg Roman fired papers. You're going to figure out what the hell is going on with Justin Tucker. You're going to figure the hell out what's going on with the passing defense up until yesterday. You're going to figure out why Todd Monken moved away from King Henry in a do-or-die play, and you're going to figure out why they only gave it to the running backs in late January 6 times. Okay, Manny? Are you up for the job?
I'm up for it 100% and more. Semper Fidelis.
I'm pretty sure mostly all of the rest of the fan base echoes that same sentiments with you, Manny. So you're not alone in that one.
Sebastian, I will be coordinating with Sebastian. He will be picking you up at BWI tomorrow, 6 o'clock sharp. And we will be transporting you through my old sponsor, Thoroughbred, luxury transportation up to Owings Mills. Can't wait.
You know something? I was going to say that this Steelers team is not, it's not the 08, 2010 Steelers that we've been seeing. That's been one of the elite teams that we've been chasing for years and trying to beat, for a long time. Because I remember those years. They were rough years. I mean, trying to get through to them. Even John Harbaugh's rookie.
I echo what Holly said. Me for head coach and Julian for assistant head coach.
There you go.
Man, Jules about to mess around, and he's about to mess around and turn this into a little defensive coordinator gig after that, because the assistant head coach last year is now the DC in Miami, and he goes by the name of Anthony Weaver. So why not Julian, whatever the hell your last name is? Why not?
Chambers.
Oh, yeah, duh. Julian Chambers,
yeah. No,
man.
I'll give way better straight answers than Harbaugh will. I mean, I understand you don't want to give out a lot of secrets, but he just be beating around the bush with like a lot of stuff. I mean, like, Harbaugh, you act like we're stupid, man. Like, we know all this stuff. Like, why are you not doing it? Why are you not winning? We want to win.
He certainly had quite a few things today that, he was obviously very prickly last night in Pitt. And then today he was just giving a bunch of non-answers. So it's not a surprise, but he's got to do that. In some cases, he's got to do that. Obviously, he's got to do that with the Marcus Williams internal situations from a month ago, and he did the same thing today with Eddie. So let me get your final thoughts in here. I got steak that I got to be grilling up, and I'm ready to go here. So let's get your final thoughts, gentlemen.
You go first.
All right, thanks. My final thoughts. Defense without Marcus Williams was great. Although I want to test, instead of Kyle Hamilton as free safety as linebacker besides Roquan, and put in Bo Braid right now because Kane is injured. Put it at free safety to see what we got in that undrafted boy from Maryland.
Well, that'd be cool, because then you can go use Kyle, as I was saying earlier on in the stream, to what his true strengths are, and that is up at the line and in the run game and just affecting quarterback's vision and blitzing, and that's when he's at his best.
Yeah. And I would switch Nelly out and give Tylan Wallace, my dark horse, a chance while we get Deontay Johnson ready to switch back, because I understand Nelly from Florida, but hey, age. You're getting upon that age in which I understand Harbaugh likes above 30 guys. Hey, I'm above 30, so head coach. But yeah, give your younger guys a chance. Give them a shot in order for them to actually get acclimated with Lamar, because we're going to need them for the playoffs, really. And give the ball to Henry.
Jewel, final word.
Well, final word is, I don't know, everything seems like dark and gloomy right now, but I would just say that there's still a lot of season left. People, some fan base are just jumping off the bridge right now. I'm not doing that, because I still believe in this team. Call me delusional. I don't give a shit. But I believe this team will get into the playoffs. And some people say, "Oh, there's going to be a first round exit." I don't. Anything can happen in the playoffs. Anything can happen. Changes are going to be made. But they basically have to get out of their own way and stop making the necessary mistakes that's going to cost them games that they know they have to win. The rematch with the Steelers is going to be a really, really big one. If you get swept again, that's going to cost some jobs. That's going to cause a lot of friction, and more friction is going to call for John Harbaugh's head even more now than ever. So that is going to be a must win. I mean, it's saying early to say that, but it's a must win game because you can't get swept by them again. I mean, last year, the last game of the season, I mean, all right, whatever. That was, we already locked up everything. But this year, totally different scenario. Got to beat them. I think they will turn it around. Hopefully, things will get better. I know that things will get better. It's going to be
Thanks,
tough.
fellas.
All right.
Appreciate you both.
See you.
As always, for dropping by. Couple super chats as well. Jonathan Alston says they're 2-7 in the last 9 because they beat him in 2022 with Hunt. Not sure what that's referring to. Is that Kansas City? Asmodeus says, I also want a Madison update. If that double date is still open, I'm game. The double date is always open and available. For the most part, status quo. We have nothing planned yet. We are still chatting on a daily basis. She's down in Nashville. Holidays are coming up here. Who knows? But I think we're both still interested in getting together at some point. I'm not exactly as mobile as I used to be because of Tilly, who is over on the futon right now, completely passed out. I've apparently bored her to tears, bored her to sleep. Asmodeus, is Jerry Rosberg available? Last time I checked, I mean, there were rumors out there in February of last year of him potentially joining the Ravens staff. So, and this isn't a super chat, but El Skeletor Gore wrote me earlier. He's telling me that I'm a company man for not wanting to bring competition in for Justin Tucker. And here's my thought, El Skeletor Gore. I think you're a little spoiled. This is the first legitimate funk, extended funk, that Justin Tucker has been in throughout his storied career. He is 3 of 7 from 50 plus. He is 4 of 6 from 40 plus. He is 6 for 6 between the 30s. He is 3 for 3 in the 20s. And his extra points, obviously, 38 of 39 after missing one a couple weeks ago. So 16 of 22 all in all. That is good for a field goal percentage of 72.7. And while that's far from his career average, and he is no longer, as I mentioned earlier on in the stream, the most accurate kicker in NFL history, Eddie Pinheiro, because of this extended funk that he is in, is now the most accurate. But I think you're a little spoiled, and I think you need to have patience. He drilled it right down Main Street from 54 after missing from 47 and 50. I'm not confident. I don't think anybody should be confident right now. But to just go and grab somebody and think that we're going to insert him into a system with Nick Moore and Jordan Stout, who as a trio with Justin have been working together for multiple years, I think that's naive to think that that's just going to immediately fix things. Justin's the GOAT for a reason. That label is being questioned right now, and it's up to him to figure it out. It's up to the entire system that goes into this. I run into Randy Brown, assistant head coach, assistant special teamer. Randy Brown, he's been with the team for a long time. I run into him in Fells all the time on our nightly walks. Okay, it's up to him. It's up to Justin. It's up to Jordan as the holder. It's up to Nick as the long snapper. They all have to figure this out and come together because this did decide the game yesterday. There's no question about it. That is the number one culprit of this game. There are a number of them, but at the top of the list, if you're to divvy up blame, to me, it is Justin, and it is his special teams crew. The central component as to what allowed the Ravens to fall short. Asmodeus says, if you need recommendations for Nashville, I fuck with that city. Excuse my French. I've never been. I actually think it's a generic alley, to be honest with you. It's where bachelorette parties go to get after it. Not that that's all that generic, but Marcus is upset that I don't like the Ravens. Boo-hoo. Boo-hoo. Marcus, there's so many fanboy options for you out there. Just go find another channel. Don't come in a live chat and put this bullshit in here. You're better than this. Come on. You already know this. You know the drill. I'm a broadcaster. I'm not a fanboy. It's nothing against fanboys who fanboy and fangirl for their teams. That's not me. I've told you this time and time and time again. I have no loyalty. I love sports in general. I look at things objectively. I look at things as a fan of sport, as a fan of competition, which is why I don't pick the Ravens every single week. Now, I've gotten burnt many times in the prediction game this year, as so many people do. But if you're looking for the fanboy channel, respectfully, this is not the right place. Thank you for being here, though. I'm glad you're here. And I'm glad all 600 plus of you concurrently are here as well. Like the video if you enjoyed tonight's stream. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. I would love for you to connect with me on Instagram this football season at Bobby Baltimore. You can join the Bobby Baltimore Patreon community by visiting the show notes below. Twitter, same thing as Instagram at Bobby Baltimore. If you'd like to donate, Venmo, Cash App, Super Chat feature here on YouTube. Always great ways to do so. And I would love for you to join the Bobby Baltimore Discord server as well, which is a 24/7 hub for conversations surrounding Baltimore sports. All that information is in the show notes below. Those are great ways to support the channel. Again, the free ways: liking the video, subscribing, hitting that notification bell. And I will catch up with you guys tomorrow. Ravens Lunch Hour live stream, Tuesday edition with Sarah, 12 noon Eastern on the 19th. And that is tomorrow. Week 12 after Monday Night Football finishes up tonight in Dallas. It's Texans Cowboys. Enjoy the game. Thank you guys for being here as always. And I'll catch you. Talk soon. Thanks to Primary Residential Mortgage for the continued support of my channel. You can go check them out to learn more. Get your closing costs covered up to $750 by visiting the show notes below and clicking on that link that's at the very top of the notes. Talk soon, guys. Later.